Obviously, you haven't won here very often as a club. This one must be pretty special.
Yeah, it is. I guess as part of our transformation as a team over the last 2 or 3 years, it feels like there's been a number of records that we've had to try and change. Clearly, the results haven't been in our favour for a period of time as a club. So there's a few of those sorts of things that the ledger's not in the right way. But over the last 2 or 3 years, we've gradually been able to go about being able to create that transformation and be able to create that consistency that we're trying to become as not just a football team but as a football club. And so I guess sort of wins like tonight, that probably goes in that bucket a little bit. It's just that nice little signature moment, if you want to call it, where a record that has been there or a history that's been there is not so much a factor anymore. And we certainly don't see it that way anymore. We tend to look at the way we play. We don't play the venue. We play the opposition, and we want to play a certain way. And we're able to do that today.
I suppose you'd be pleased as well, 3/4 time, the response that you got when I suppose we were probably waiting for Port to charge, but instead you guys just ran away with it.
Well, I thought that was maybe some reward for large parts of the game. And again, I don't tend to dive too much into statistics in the end because it's, but there were a lot in our favour. The game that we were trying to play was somewhat in our favour. We had probably a couple of parts that weren't exactly where we needed it. I thought Horne-Francis was particularly impressive through that period of time, so clearance wasn't necessarily going our way. But the profile of this team is evolving and it's changing, and you're not becoming just one-dimensional. And so while one part of our game might not necessarily have been going as well as what we would have liked, the guys would be able to make the correction, and then we got to work in the last quarter, and hopefully through the weight of the way that we were playing, end up getting the result in the end.
Was it inefficiency that kind of prevented you from maybe taking any bigger lead into 3/4 time?
No, it's hard to put it was probably 2 or 3 things. Obviously Lear was one that was sort of intercepting. They were intercepting the ball a bit too much through the third quarter. But again, we've shown a great ability to be able to adapt at the moment. We're coming in at half time. We're looking at the game. We're seeing what we like. We're seeing what we don't like, and we've been able to sort of change a few things or tinker a few things. So it says to me that the players are in really good form. Their ears are open and they're able to take the information in and they're able to go out and execute. So it tells me that they're in pretty good form and feeling pretty good about themselves.
It was a pretty inspirational couple of minutes from the captain there in the fourth quarter to get you guys going. Yeah,
well, he certainly is a really big believer in, we weren't going to stop. We had to keep playing the same way, and we're going to take them on, and it sort of looked a bit like that, didn't it? In the start of the fourth quarter, it was centre square bounce game. But yeah, again, we probably took our moments. Maybe Port had to roll the dice just a little bit more towards the end of the game, and we were able to create those turnovers that gave us looks back the other way. So the scoreboard, we're able to keep ticking over. Maybe they just need to be a little bit braver to try and win the game, which is fair enough. But again, despite that, we're able to stick at what we were able to do, and we still kept pressure around the ball, and we kept our composure in key moments. And we never ever say that anyone steps up in big moments, but sometimes they just show themselves. And Cripper, as the captain, did that certainly in the last quarter.
Do you have to bring them up, or everyone's seen him do it so many times, but do you have to bring them up at 3/4 time and had a quiet night, or do you just?
No, not really. I mean, we just had to get some detail. There's some detail around our stoppages we need to fix up. They were just breaking far too easily from that part and getting too many metres off that. So that was a challenge. There was a couple of little tidy-ups, minor structure, but more about method. And the boys were really responsive to that. But then it comes down to belief. And, I think the belief is certainly growing within this group, but it's not. Results like tonight don't confirm your belief about what we're about. We've been playing against some really good teams over the last little while. It feels like we're sort of playing every team in the top 8 right now, or close to the top 4. So we've been challenged in a lot of areas, but as a result, we've found out more about ourselves, and we certainly rose to it tonight.
So having said that, 8 and 4, you know, it's obviously a strong platform to launch the rest of the year. Yeah, I guess your thoughts on that, on what you've done so far, and I guess the improvement that you're looking for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, it's a bit hard to probably cast too far forward. I think what we've done pretty well over the last little while is we just got after the next opponent, and it's sort of been dangerous to think otherwise because, you know, everyone's sort of looking forward about, you know, who we're playing, but what we've done is just dial in on the opponent we've got. You know, we've stayed, you know, pretty present to that. We learned a lot of things about ourselves last year, and I think just for the sheer fact that we've gone through that, we've sort of got a bit of a clearer understanding about what it takes to be able to work our way through it. If there's a little bit of form or, you know, things aren't quite right, we've got a clearer understanding about what our identity is and what we need to be able to get after. And the last couple of weeks, it's just become clearer again for us. And again, the players have been in a position where they've been able to execute really well.
Did you notice tonight any difference in the holding ball interpretation after?
There was a couple. Yeah, there was a couple, and I thought for the better. I thought there was one that Charlie was against him, and yeah, just sort of thought that was, you know, that was safer for the player, if you want to call that. I'm not even talking about prior here. And I think there was a Matty Owies one as well, that I sort of thought that's how it should be, adjudicated in the current landscape of AFL football, and with all the current things that are really important to us, that we say are important to us. I thought those two decisions were correct. As far as the prior opportunity goes, it was certainly closer to where I thought it should be.
Do you still think it's a bit any work in progress or anything like that? I mean, there was a couple of times where
The holding ball you're talking about?
Yeah, everyone was expecting the person to get pinged and then they weren't. So you guys just going to be working.
The players adjust. Yeah, it's almost like the manning the mark, and it takes it sometimes in that instance a pre-season to try and figure it out. Tonight you had two teams that come off 5 days, so no one trained, and then we found out the adjustments after our last training session effectively, so not a lot of time to be able to go and make any adjustments. But I just think it's just, we don't really need to change too much in our method really. We just got to keep coaching the boys the same way, and know that there's more opportunities that exist, and for us we want to bring pressure on the ball, so hopefully there's more opportunities for us.
Can you imagine the output that Zach Williams is having as a forward when you decided to throw him up there?
Well, he kept telling me for 12 months he kicks goals. So I said, mate, I've had enough of you telling me you can kick goals. So it's now time to go forward and kick goals. So, but he's been more than that. He's been able to go up there and have a real impact. He's brought some really fresh energy to our group. You know, he's tough and he's hard and he's clean over the footy, and he's hard to beat. So it's been an adjustment that's come off challenge, and it's amazing, you know, that the guys have been able to step up. And I talked last week about having a dual win with being able to bring Cowan into our team, and he was just ready to go. Just felt like he was ready to go off his form that he had. So that was a great opportunity for us to be able to do that. And it gave us a look of Zach forward of the ball. And then obviously Sincotta as well. We toyed with for probably over a month about doing that role, but he's doing such a great job down back on some of the smalls and defending them so well. So we're giving him a different task. He's just big body and he's hungry, and I spoke about it last week, but you know, he's gone about it again against a very, very good opponent.
Yeah, Chimpelli, you must be so happy. You must be really happy with how he kind of negated Butter's influence throughout the night.
Yeah, and also, you know, to Butter's credit, he kept fighting and kept digging and kept trying to find a way. So it was a pretty good contest. Yeah, it was a pretty good contest, but you know, we needed that role. You know, you could have looked at the game and sort of thought Horton Francis, you could have shifted it, but we felt like enough of the game was in our favour that to sort of shift it and then light up him for, you know, 10, 15 minutes, which he can do, as we saw even against Hawthorn, you know, only a couple of weeks ago. We just sort of thought we needed to change a little bit of our method in that particular matchup, and then just keep getting after Butters. So thankfully we were able to work our way through it and got the result.
You going to get anyone back then from the big injury list?
No, it's getting smaller and smaller. So not off the top of my head. I don't think there's. You know, Marchie would come play VFL on Sunday. Motlop's been back and he'll play another game, so which is good. You got, you know, effectively a practice match last week, and he's able to play another game. So yeah, so we're banking some work. There's no injuries out of the game from this particular game, so we've got a 10-day break before we get into Essendon next week.
Thanks, Rob.
Cheers.
Thanks. Cheers, Steve.